Hello, Rama Rama Pupodu. Hope all are in good health, feeling great, peaceful, having a relaxed life. Now let's go to chapter 23, part 2. God is Providence. The fever continued to appear every third day for about 4 or 5 hours in the evening from 4 to 8 or 9. Sanjeev Rao and his wife grew anxious about him. Often in the evenings, on the fever days, he would be talking on Bhakti and Vairagya to the mothers who used to visit him at that time. He was reading out bits from the Rambles of Vedanta by Rajam Iyer when he was narrating the life of Nanda, the Pariah saint. From this book, he would go into ecstasis. The life presents the unique devotion of an outcast saint who was completely merged in divine consciousness. The hearers would also be blissful. In the night, Ramdas would, in spite of fever, talk like a machine, expounding the greatness of bhakti and of the inestimable power of God's name. A doctor friend who had great love for him would pay him visits. He proposed to give him an injection for the fever. Ramdas would not have the treatment, but Sanjeev Rao and his wife were persistent. They would have him take some medicine. At their pressure, he drank twice a day, a bitter mixture, and every time when he did so, he remarked that the medicine was so very sweet. The mother, Sanjeev Rao's wife, would be surprised to hear him say so. Ramdas would only laugh. All the same, the fever persisted. The fever refuses to leave, Ramdas observed, because you have made him a welcome guest by feeding him with fine things. The small quantity of the bitter medicine has no effect on fever, while he is well served with tasty sweets and other kinds of food 3 or 4 times a day. So long as you feed an undesirable guest, he will certainly stick on, but the moment you starve him, he will, without your bidding, make himself scarce. So allow Ramdas to go on a fast for some days. He will live merely on milk. At first, the loving pair objected to the proposal, but at last yielded. A 4 days fast and the fever guest took to his heels. Invitations came from the Sholapur district, but God willed that Ramdas should proceed to Mangalore. So he and Ramcharan Das boarded the steamboat sailing for Mangalore port. Ramcharan Das was busy exploring the ship for tiffin shops. At about 9 o'clock, he turned up with a bright face and said, "Swamiji, there is on a boat a coffee hotel in which all kinds of eatables are sold." Here his mouth involuntarily watered and he had to drink off the nectar before he proceeded. The hotel man says that he can also provide meals if we place an order with him. Each meal costs 6 annas only. Now, Ramcharan Das had money given by Sanjeev Rao for expenses on the boat, and at landing, he made a sound of coins to show that there was no dearth of funds. "Right, ho," Ramdas replied, laughing. "Place at once an order for 2 meals for midday. Fire away." He bounded with joy towards the tiffin shop and personally supervised the cooking of the meals. He was himself somewhat of an expert in cooking, which art he exercised by making experiments of his dishes on Ramdas when he travelled long distances with him. At about 12 o'clock, he came to take Ramdas for meals. It was simple but wholesome meal. After the meal, Ramdas returned to his seat, while Ramcharan Das remained behind, talking to somebody. A little later, he also came, but this time with a worried look. "What is wrong with you?" Ramdas questioned. "Some men near the tiffin shop saw us taking meals," he answered, "and have remarked to me, although sadhus, you are very particular about meals. Eating seems to be the predominant sadhana of your sadhu life." Ramdas said with a laugh, which he could scarcely repress. The food was delicious, so also why not find the same taste in the sweet remark? He never ordered further meals, presumably because the bitterness of the remark outweighed the taste of the meal. On the way, when the steamboat was still moving, two mothers gave birth to twins. They were third-class passengers, and the accouchement took place on the deck. There were among the passengers also a doctor and a nurse who attended to the mothers. In the mid-sea, even in such a contingency, God provides necessary assistance. Hence, God is called Providence. Ramdas and Ramcharandas on arrival at Mangalore were put up at Sita Ram Rao's house. An invitation came from Kasargod to attend the closing day of a Nam Saptaha held in the house of T. Bhavani Shankar Rao, a relation of Ramdas' whole life. He and his house people had undertaken to repeat the Ram Mantram 13 lakhs of times within a week, and in this japa, children and servants also joined. About this time, Ramdas had a visit at Mangalore from Savur Shankar Rao, who held English degrees and was then a professor in the Presidency College, Madras. In spite of his great learning and attainment, Ramdas found him to be simple, humble, and pious soul. He conceived a great love for Ramdas at first sight and frequently quoted his company. The very talk of God would work on his emotions and bring tears into his eyes. He joined Ramdas at the Nama Saptaha. Ramdas spent a most blissful time for about 2 or 3 days on this occasion. The japa had exceeded 15 lakhs. The zeal even of the youngsters to make up the highest possible number of japa as the quota was admirable. Ramcharandas, who was also present at the religious function, was asked by Ramdas to go back to Mangalore and to have resort to solitude for japa and meditation. Accordingly, he left Kasargod for Mangalore. A saintly soul from Cawnpore was in Kasargod during this time owing to the illness of his granddaughter. He took Ramdas to see the girl. The little girl had great love for Ramdas. She was overjoyed to behold him. She narrated in her own innocent way that she had a vision on the previous night of Rama and Sita. The girl recovered soon after this. Ramdas also paid visits to Gurudev, whose body was now weak and worn out by infirmities of old age. He was living with his son Anand Rao. He was then past 80 years of age. He was perfectly calm and peaceful, and the worries of life had ceased for him. Ramdas, having received an invitation from Sanjeev Rao of Ernakulam, left Kasargod for that place. That's all, folks. Let's see in the next chapter. Thank you. Bye bye. Rama Rama Puppodu.